I'm going to show you how to make one of the best cocaine factories at the barn in Schedule 1. So this setup is going to get you a massive amount of very valuable cocaine. So this one's not so much about max value as much as it's about mass production of high value, okay? This is so you can supply all your dealers and just get them all stocked up and never have to deal with them, okay? So we got this crazy setup in here. This place is pretty well organized. So first I want to say we're going to start by putting the beds in the back, okay? You can put them back here like this. If you go up to the next floor, this one's for me because there's extra space so I don't have to leave if I want to sleep. I think there's some beds up here, some extra storage to throw junk on and stuff. So basically, beds in the back because they aren't actually used by the employees. So the main thing with the employees here is you want to put the most important ones in the front. So the biggest bottleneck to any factory that makes pretty much anything, especially if you do mixing, is going to be the chemists, which is why I have the mixers in the front. I have the lab ovens in the front. I have cauldrons in the front. I have these other cauldrons and lab ovens up as close to the front as I could get. And I have the botanist stuff more towards the back because one of the longest things that's going to, like, the biggest thing with the botanist is waiting for the plants to grow. So for that duration, they don't need to be in here constantly doing things. But for these guys up here, they need to be in here constantly in order to do stuff. So the main thing here is we throw some storage over here just for the mass storage. This is where I keep, these three over here are just extra. And then these four right here are the ingredients. Now, I recommend giving the Viagra, the horse semen, the iodine, and the battery. Because if you're just doing a 4-step mix, that's going to give you, as far as I'm aware, the highest value for 4 mixtures. Okay, that brings you to this over here. Death Diesel is going to be called something different on your game, and it's worth, I think, like 420 or something like that for just 3 mixes. Okay. So the way this flow works here is we have all the grow pots over here, and we have 3 botanists, so there's a total of 24 growing pots. And then we have, I think it was 3 chemists, 4 chemists. How many chemists do we have? We have 4. I remember because of the beds back there. Okay, so we got 1 chemist that deals with these 2 cauldrons and these 2 lab ovens. And we have one that does these 2 cauldrons and these 2 lab ovens. One that does these 2 cauldrons, these 2 lab ovens. And then one that does all 4 of these mixing stations, okay? And the way that these ingredients get funneled is you can actually go from the pot and make its destination a cauldron. So we have 4 pots going to 1 cauldron, another 4 going to another cauldron, and then another 4 going to another cauldron, and another 4 going to another cauldron, okay? And I tried my best to organize this to where the ones closest to the front are the ones that, like, connect to these ones in the front, and then the ones all the way in the back are the ones that connect to these ones in the back, so that way there's not this mismatch in timing. So then those go over to here. And now we have to use a handler. So we have these storage along the wall. It's a perfect fit. You can fit these 2 large racks between each of these support beams. So I highly recommend doing your storage like this, at least on one side. I kind of did it on both sides a little bit, but mainly this side. So we just have these 4 for gasoline here storage. That's the main thing we're going to need from this side. And so we have a handler that takes gasoline from this rack, puts it to this cauldron, this rack to that cauldron, then this rack to this cauldron, and this rack to that cauldron, and then one of these racks to one of these cauldrons, and one of these racks to the other cauldron. That's 4 routes right there. Now, the other thing is the cauldrons also can have their destination be a lab oven. So you don't have to use handlers for that. So these 2 are going to go to these 2 lab ovens. These 2 go to these 2 lab ovens. And then this one goes to that lab oven. That one goes to that lab oven. And then the lab ovens all do the same thing where they can also do that, where their destination is going to be a mixing station. So I'm having them all go to this mixing station. Now, if you wanted more product that's worth less, you could actually just have all these go to each of the 4 mixing stations and just mix 1 time with Viagra to get the highest value for a single mix. And then it'd be worth, like, I don't know, 280 or something like that. And then you could just make like an insane amount of bulk if you prefer that way, and then just use the brick press or something just to get your dealers distributed more easily. But if you want to make more per day from the dealers, then you're going to want to mix it 4 times. But anyway, so they're all going to this mixing station. Then this mixing station goes to this mixing station, to that one. And then from there it goes over to this last shelf, okay? And then the handlers, we have another handler who takes these 4 racks and takes the Viagra to this one, and takes the horse semen to this one below me, and then iodine to that one, and batteries to the last one. And then I have 3 handlers here, and I have 3 packaging stations for them. What we do is we have handler that has a route from this one over to this station, the next station, and the next station, and then another handler that has routes from this one and that one, and you kind of mix and match them. But everyone has to be connected to this one, and if you have any extra routes, you're going to use them on a second shelf just to be able to connect more jars to the extra packaging stations, or to any of them that you can, just so you don't have to load up jars quite as often. You have an extra shelf to load jars onto. And then from there, these ones have a destination. They don't need a rack, so I have each of these going to their own storage rack. I mean, they don't need a rack. They don't need a route, I meant, but yeah, we take from those to the storage racks, so that way we don't use any routes there. I have a brick press right here in case for any reason I want to change something up and just use a brick press, but I never actually used it. Something else with these grow pots, so for the organization, we have it run down the middle here. What I did here was I put the racks for them right here, here, and over there, and that's for the sake of efficiency, so that when the botanists go to get the materials, they don't have to go walking off very far. So this one over here supplies these 8 over here. This one right here supplies those 2 and these 6. And then this one back here supplies these 8. That keeps it pretty tight so they don't have to go walking very far in order to get their supplies. Then back here, I just have extra storage. These 4 back here, 5. Extra storage. You can put whatever you want here, more storage, whatever. Or maybe you want to grow some manually yourself or do something manual back here. It's up to you. These were just throwbacks when I was playing with different experiments and stuff. But yeah, you could even put more beds back here just so you don't have to go up here to go pay the employees. I mean, it's whatever. This space is completely free. And then same for like a little bit more of this space back here. But yeah, so then the beds back here because they don't matter for anything. And yeah, that's pretty much the setup. So if you want to copy, you're gonna have to just kind of pause the video and then look at the setup and try to get it right. I really don't feel like spending a whole like hours trying to pick it all up, reset it all just to show you be putting everything down. But you can do it like this. You can organize a little bit different. But the big tips here, the big things that I really focus on, I really think is important. All the chemist stuff, again, needs to be at the front because the chemists are the bottlenecks, especially the mixing stations. The mixing stations will be your bottleneck in this because all the lab ovens are going to the same starting mixing station, and they do a pretty good job of keeping up with it. I mean, they pretty much keep up with this many lab ovens. You can see that like none of these will also, I need to get some more stuff loaded up, but they generally keep up with it. So yeah, I mean, that works out, and this will get you, as long as you keep everything supplied, I think it gets like, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's like 30 to 40 of these jars a day, of jars of this stuff, okay? And your dealers can't even sell that many jars per day. So you can load up all your dealers and probably have some left over with this setup, and they'll be able to make you, $5,000-$10,000 a day each or something, whatever it is, off of having this high-level cocaine. So the main things you have to do to maintain this factory is you're going to have to set up meetings with Salvador in order to buy the cocaine seeds. You'll have to do that every, I don't know. It depends how much you load up, but one full load, like 80 of it would, last you like 3 in-game days or something. So just load up all those racks with like 2 stacks of soil and 6 stacks of seeds or something like, I think 2 to 6. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then you're good for like 10 in-game days or something. The deliveries, okay, you're going to want to do deliveries where you do 80 Viagra, 80 horse semen, 80 iodine, and 80 batteries. This will be the max you can get. There's 2 loading docks here at the barn, so you can do one from one gas station, one from the other. When they get here, that is just enough to fully load up these 4 shelves. Speaking of which, I need to reload those. And then if I need to get rid of the soil over here, and then you could use this for any extras. So if you accidentally ordered too much or whatever, you can throw the extras over in these 2, so that way you have a little backup. Or, you can put more storage back in the corner, load up as much as you want to at once. But yeah, your main maintenance is going to be ordering deliveries of that. You can also not even have to go to the store and order deliveries of the soil if you don't feel like getting it yourself. Same for the gasoline. And then same for the baggies and the jars. And I usually get the baggies and the jars from the general illegal supplies because I don't really use this one very much. So instead of having to use up one of the Gas Smart 6-hour cycles, I can just do this one and get like 100 jars or 200, I think 240 or 220. One of those 2 is the max number of jars that you can order in a single batch. I'll get it from there or something. And then you're just going to play the game of loading it up and then grabbing it all and dealing it all and waiting and repeating. The other thing that's probably good to know is sometimes you want to mix in baggies because the stuff's so valuable that even if you just have a baggie, it's going to be hard to sell to people because it's worth so much money as an individual unit. So you might want to make some baggies too for hand dealing to people if this is going to be your only factory, but you'll probably end up, if you end up using the bungalow for weed or something like that, then it's not going to matter as much for the hand dealing to people. But yeah, this is the setup. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I had a lot of fun making this one. There's probably a few things I could tweak to make it better, but yeah, the main focus for this one was mass production. So with this one, I can just load up all the dealers and eventually get them fully loaded with cocaine so that I don't have to deal with them for, like 10 days at a time or something like that. But later on, I mean, I could try to make another video if these videos keep getting views of one where you do the super weed or cocaine. So there's a super cocaine, I think it was 7 mixes, and then the cocaine's worth like 700. And I could make a setup for that where instead of that guy working over there, I could have more mixes and then make one that's, 700 per cocaine. But then it'd be harder to keep up with your dealers or suppliers or no dealers. Yeah, dealers. So yeah, this was mass production. It's pretty easy to swap out if you want the 7 though. You just remove that guy and then replace it with more mixers and just rearrange this place a little bit. And then you could make the super one. But yeah, maybe I'll make a video on that, or maybe I'll do a video for a different one of these properties and do something like maybe the docks or something. I'm not sure, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun setting this thing up, and hopefully I'll do some more of these. But yeah, this is my ultimate mass production cocaine factory at the barnyard in Schedule 1.